Hello, you are welcome to another tutorial on olives. In this video, I will share with you how to make a placket mostly seen on polo shirt. So if you're interested in something like this, do make sure you keep on watching. Let's get right into this tutorial. Before you begin your placket, you must have created your neckline, and the placket usually forms part of the neckline. Okay, so my neckline is ready. I went ahead to press the center of my dress. This is the front part. Okay, so this is the pattern, and I'm going to measure from the neckline down to where I want my placket to stop. So mine is going to be 6 inches. You can do lower or higher than that. So from the center front, I'm going to mark 6 inches down, and here is the center. I'll go ahead and mark ½ inch on both sides of the center this way. I'll mark the same thing above the neckline like this. So that's a total of 1 inch. I'm going to connect my lines together. So it means I want my placket width to be 1 inch. Above the end of my 6 inches, I'll go by 1 inch right at the center this way. I'll connect this 1 inch to each of the corner as you see. Okay, so this is going to be a notch whilst sewing. In case you want the width of your placket to be about 1.5 inch, you divide 1.5 inch by 2 and mark the result on both sides of the center like we did. Okay, so this is my actual placket. The length is about 8 inches. My actual length is 6 inches, so which means it has to be longer than your actual length. The width here is about 3 inches. Okay, and if your width is going to be 1.5 inch, then you should have a total width of 4 inches. Okay, so I'll head to the ironing board and I'll first press it into 2 equal parts and also fold in ½ inch on both edges of my material. So at the end of the day, I'm going to have about 1 inch. Okay, so before I do any pressing, I'm going to go ahead and fuse violin or stiff onto the wrong side. Okay, now this is my front once again, and this is also my plackets ready, 2 of them. I made one with a hard violin and the other with a soft violin. Okay, the soft violin will go with the buttons. All right, so one is going to be over the other this way. Do you get? So go ahead and work with one first. Okay, now whenever you press, you always have a crease line. After pressing the center and pressing in the ½ inch, I had a straight edge. Okay, so I'm going to align this straight edge with my first line, which is the white one you are seeing. Okay, which means I'm going to stitch right on that line. I also went ahead to pin the excess of the placket onto my piece of work so it stays in place. Okay, now wherever my 6 inches ends, I'm going to use pen or pencil, whatever you have. Just use it to mark exactly where it ends, so when stitching you know where to end. Okay, do not assume, mark it and know exactly where to end. So I went ahead to stitch, and when I get to the end, I'll try back stitching. Okay, so this is how one looks like. I went ahead to stitch right on that crease line. I folded out the ½ inch and stitched right on the crease line. Do you see that? So whatever we just did right now, we'll repeat it to the other piece of placket. So here it is. I've marked the same thing, folded it, and this is the ½ inch. So you can see that I'm trying to open the ½ inch allowance out. All right, so I'm going to align the crease line once again on my line, the edge straight. Okay, and then go ahead to pin the excess down to the piece of work again so it doesn't move. Right, so this is what I have, and this is where I am going to end my stitch. Okay, so I'll go ahead again and stitch that in place. So here is how they both look like at the moment. So at the end of the stitch, I have exactly 1 inch opening. All right, now we need to cut through the center front. So you cut and stop right here where the 1 inch mark ends, right? And then I'm going to turn to my direction and cut on this notch line. So I'm going to cut through till I get to the end of my mark and also the end of my stitch. Do not pass by your stitch, okay? Remain where you are. Just cut through till you get to your stitch and also your mark right there, okay? In case you make a mistake of cutting through, you will have to stitch back and end at where your cut ends, if that makes sense. You have to replace that. I hope I just made sense. So the next thing to do is to flip in all the placket and also flip in the notch. So you can see that the notch is showing outside, right? I'm going to use my finger to just push it in. You see? All right, so at the back I'm going to fold in the excess, that's the 1/2 inch we used to stitch, fold it in and fold the other on top. Okay, do the same thing to the other, and that is it. After you are done, you are just going to head to the machine and lock it in by top stitching. Okay, so I'll do the top stitch on both of my placket piece. So again, you fold in the allowance, okay, and then you fold over the other and top stitch. Okay, having done all of that, this is how it looks like. At this point, you need to determine how you want the placket to overlap. Okay, one has to overlap the other. Okay, for ladies, our placket is going to go from the right side. Okay, the right side is going to overlap the left side. If you are doing this for a male, the left side should overlap the right side. So since this outfit is for a lady, the right side would overlap the left. Okay, so again, I'm sending the excess of the placket to the wrong side and allowing the right part of the placket to overlap the left side. Does that make sense? All right, so after doing this, I'm going to hold this side this way. Okay, you can see the notch flying. All right, so the next thing we are going to do after aligning everything, I'm going to use a pin to tack it down, so this way it doesn't shift while dealing with the excess at the bottom part. Also, I'm going to cut out the excess I have here nicely. Then I'll flip my outfit up this way and just deal with the bottom of the placket. I'm going to hold together the notch and then the two plackets and stitch right at the edge, I mean the end of the stitch. Okay, so after doing that, this is how it looks like. The next thing is to make a rectangle stitch, just a little rectangle stitch like this. So you're going to stitch just like you see me marking with my chalk. Okay, so you move 1, 2, 3 and then just lock them together. Okay, so also I've done that and this is how it looks like. I used a matching thread, so it is hard to see the stitches, but it's just as I explained. Please do so. Okay, so I'm going to cut off the excess, and when I get to the serger or the knitting machine, I'm just going to serge the end. That is it for a placket. And for fasteners, you can either use a snap, a breasted, or a button with buttonhole. I hope you enjoyed watching and learning with Olives. Do make sure to like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.